Thank you guys for being here. It's another episode of Bingu Choom K-Pop Tunes, the podcast version
Yeah.
with recording. do we need to keep introducing ourselves? I don't know. It's just I'm Choom, also known or no, I'm who am I? I don't even
Listen, you already know who we are.
I
It's Bingu and Choom, or Raina and Lacey. Like, I don't hate the intro, but it's always up to you. If you want to do it, I'm gonna
I don't
delight
hate
to
it
do it with
either.
you.
I just thought it was nice for the podcast, but I'm having an existential crisis anyway, so
So,
I don't know who I am.
oh,
Hopefully hopefully the listeners know who we are.
I can't guide you through that. So I hope that you figure that
I'm
out.
like I'm like 110% sure I'm Choom.
Are you?
I don't
Who
know
are we?
who are.
Why do we exist? Is that the conversation we're going to be having today? I can have that
No,
conversation. I have that
but
every day.
we're not going to have that conversation, but our
No.
topic might make us want to have that conversation.
That's valid because our topic today is Sasaeng fans, and
Yes.
where are they now?
No, what
Are
are they doing with themselves now?
they still exist, unfortunately? Because this was always a question that I asked Raina, like, is it still as big as an issue as it was like back then, or even when it came to the articles that came up? Were they as like dangerous as they are then
Yeah.
compared to
Because
now?
Lacey took a step back from K-pop for a while, and so that's where this question of are Sasaeng still an issue came up, is because they were pretty intense back then,
Yeah.
and I
Are
don't
they still
know,
intense as they are today?
to some degree, I would say, yeah, definitely. To start off, though, for those of you who don't know, if you are into K-pop, you probably know what a Sasaeng fan is, if we can even call them fans. If you aren't into K-pop, if you don't know, a Sasaeng is just a supposed fan that is very obsessive to the point of stalking and invading their K-pop idols' privacy. So they, rather than just being a fan, there's something on my mic, and showing up to events, they go outside of that sphere and they just get really obsessive and
It's an extreme of stalking behaviors.
extreme version of being a fan. One
Yeah.
thing to clarify though is sometimes this does get mixed up, which is why I included it in our notes, is that there is Sasaeng fans and then there are anti fans. And so for those of you who don't know, Sasaeng fan behavior sometimes gets confused with anti-fan behavior, just because Sasaengs, the lengths that they go to, sometimes become so extreme that they cause unintentional harm. Like they might cause an accident, but it's not something that they did intentionally. Where an anti-fan is someone who isn't a fan of like a K-pop group or an individual, and they go to extreme lengths for recognition with the intention of causing harm. Like they want the idol to not succeed, essentially. That's all
That's
I
a
have to
good
add.
description of both.
That's just a preemptive, like, this is what we're talking about, because there might be people that are maybe
Like,
babies to the K-pop sphere that are listening here.
but I mean, I think it's good to differentiate like the difference between them. Because there's a reason why they're labeled the way that they're labeled.
Yeah.
So
And
you
Sasaeng actually too has like a specific meaning in Korean, which takes like, I forget what the exact meaning is, but it means like personal life, and then I think maybe just fan. Um, and so that's why Lacey said like they're labeled the way they are for specific reasons.
they weren't just made up.
I'm
Like
just
words
making up
have
words here.
meanings.
For specific reasons.
Yeah. So, do you want to go more in depth about the sasaengs and like where it came from, like the word came from, and how it
Maybe not
expanded?
super in depth, but I think people should know that Sasaeng fans aren't like a thing that just happened. Like, I
Hmm.
know
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I know it's not something like depending on what sphere in K-pop you're in, you might hear the bad things, you might not hear the bad things at all, but I do think people need to realize like it's not something that just came to be and you're not just hearing more of it recently. It's always been there. It's just a matter of finding the correct information about it.
Hmm.
Um so do we want to just give the really quick back history of when it came?
I don't think we need to. We're not
No.
like historians.
We're not
um,
historians.
I think you just describing it and where and just the fact that it's always been a thing, we could just jump into incidents that have always made us think about. I always think about certain incidents regarding Sasaeng fans, and I know for a fact that they're on this list that you curated.
well, I did like I said try to find ones. Well, not find ones. Most of the ones from like pre 2014 that I included on the list were ones that I remember being like they blew up. And like at our time of K-pop, even in 2014, like V Live didn't exist, idols didn't have access to Twitter, and so the fact that these news incidents were blowing up to the extent that they did and we were hearing like these fans did these things was kind of crazy and it just like left an impression, a long
You know
lasting
what?
impression.
You say that, and while Sasaeng fans are still a thing, I don't know. I don't know everything that's happened with like all the years that I haven't really been into K-pop, but I do feel like you saying that maybe the extremes have changed because you have different avenues of connecting with the idols now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
you
I
feel
do
more
agree with that.
connected compared to like they never did V Live before, so I obviously got to go to this person's house to figure out what t-shirt they wear when they're not performing or something crazy.
Well, a lot
Or
of the reason too Sasaengs came to be is because like they didn't have access. There was no digital age when K-pop and the Hallyu wave came to be. So fans literally were like, I can't make it to this concert. I can't make it to this fan side. I need to go, like you said,
I
find
need to
out
go there,
what I need to go to their house. I
obviously.
need to find out what shirt they're wearing. I need to like see them
Know
in
what
person.
van that they drive,
Yeah.
like what company
And
van they
so
drive and go to. And this is very like, if I'm being
broad.
honest, no, like that's very tame. What I just said was very tame compared to
Some of
other
the things we've seen.
insane
But I do
incidents.
think it can be argued like I do agree with you in the fact that I do think the avenues have changed. Maybe some of them aren't as intense as they were, but we do see a lot of maybe the same less intense issues from when it first started, just more frequently now because now
Mm.
we essentially with the way fandom culture has changed, we do have essentially 24/7 access to the idols and idols are marketed to give us fan service essentially and be accessible
Hmm.
as much as they are. And so I think the
Hmm.
avenues have changed in the fact that maybe they're not as extreme, but the less extreme ones are repeated offenders that are just happening constantly.
I'm going to save my conclusions for when we go through all of this, but instead of going through all of this, because it's probably going to be over an hour if we go over every single incident.
Well, I didn't make the list, so we had to go through all of it. I just wanted to
I
put
know,
down
but like I would like to go through all of it.
content. Okay,
It's a
well,
lot of
let's break
content.
it.
It's a lot to work with. I guess like from each year, pick your favorite incident.
Your favorite. Well, 2014. Well, I don't think we need to go from each year, but I think we should start for sure with TVXQ and JYJ
Okay.
because they were one of the biggest K-pop groups at the start of the Hallyu
Yes.
wave, at the start of really fandom culture evolving, along with like I think it's Sekis is how you say the group name, along with like those early, really earlier groups, they were like, I would say, the peak of the 2000s when things really started to switch to the digital age, and it
And
was
if you
on
don't
that
know
cusp.
TVXQ and JYJ, what are you doing?
You
You
need
need to
to take a
listen.
you need to listen and maybe take an SM entertainment background course.
Like you gotta know the OGs, you know? Like
Yeah,
and they always put out bops. They've never put
they
out
have.
anything.
Yeah.
Listen, they
So
walked so how does it go? Somebody walked so that somebody else could
it
fly or
could
something like that. Run.
run, I think. Dang, we're
They
flying now
walked,
though.
they walked and crawled. So everybody else in SM could fly and run. I don't know that if that's how that works, but
That's how we're doing it today. Um, so I guess just the general common incidents that you see that were really extreme for TVXQ were multiple accounts of members' phones being like tapped into, their personal information and their phone numbers being sold. Like fans would actually sell the private information.
oh my god.
Um, GPS trackers being installed
I
on
remember
their
those.
cars. That one's still pretty common actually,
I
which
think
I
even the
thought,
phone tapping is still a thing too. I remember
yeah.
that happening with
I feel like
XO.
schedules though now are so accessible for a lot of groups that I really was surprised to find out that GPS tracking for some of the group vehicles is like still a thing. We'll get to that later for like in comparison to what do we deal with now,
I don't
but
know.
I was surprised. I was
Like
surprised
maybe
because
it's
like
like bragging rights to do
you can
that.
literally get on like Monster X, I can get on their fan cafe and there's a calendar of their schedules. So like you know where they're going to be at what
But
point.
maybe they like it's bragging rights and they just want to be there like
Those aren't
before they
bragging
set
rights.
up.
Those
But
aren't
I'm
bragging
saying like
rights,
for
people. No, I
them,
know, but those are bragging rights, people.
but I'm saying like
Um,
why is it still a if it's
a
still a
problem.
thing and they have the resources to know exactly where they're going to be, what it's bragging rights. I did it. I tapped it. I put the air tag on there. That's my air tag.
Ugh.
It I don't
Yeah,
that's
I
just
know, but and then obviously breaking and entering into the apartments was a really big thing,
classic.
and then that one's a classic, or just being outside of their homes. But TVXQ had a lot of reports of like fans actually going into their apartment. There was actually another incident where a fan installed a CCTV camera in the car park of their like car garage for their apartment, and I think they got caught later on, but they were like filming the members coming and going to their cars.
It's just
And there was literally a sign, if you look up this news story, there was literally a sign over this camera that said like don't touch it, which to me would have been a flag immediately, cuz not a lot of CCTV cameras have like a sign on them that's like red flag, look here, you're being watched, here's a camera.
it's just wild. Like that's it's wild. You're gonna hear me say that a lot in this episode. They're just leaving and like coming and going. Like I don't know. I don't know. It's I just want a whole like documentary for like the psychology of a Sasaeng fan. Like it's just essentially you're a stalker and it's just like extreme stalking. Like that's literally what it is and
Yeah,
it's it's only fascinating cuz you just don't understand it. Like you want to try to get it, but it doesn't make sense. It's never going to make
no,
sense. It's
it
the
doesn't.
same it's the same extreme as like you have those like some people have crazy neighbors and they do like insane things to try to kick out the new people that moved into the neighborhood or
Yeah, I've heard those.
they're terrifying. So, y'all on the same level as a
I
crazy like neighbor and just a stalker. It's also interesting in the fact when you consider stalkers are you always it's usually someone that you know pretty well. Whereas
Yeah.
this is like they don't know them personally. And it's really just that's another aspect I find interesting too, just
And it
because
on that aspect too, it's like interesting to think about how Sasaeng fans started because like I can see the psychology behind being not misled. Like with the way fan service is now and the way idols are 24/7 practically accessible to everybody, I can see how a fan can become delusional into thinking like, oh, we're best friends, like they
oh
said
for
this,
sure.
that means. And so I can see how a sasaeng could develop from that nature, but like to think about the fact that sasaengs came before the digital age, like, and for people you don't know and like celebrities you didn't have access to the way you do now, like it's literally just stalking. And I mean it doesn't change it. It's still stalking no matter what. But in comparison to like then and now, it's one of those things where I'm like, I can see how you can become delusional and turn into a stalker in this day and age. But back then, what was the mindset for it? Like how
Well,
did you come to this?
I think I get why you would come to that. Like you really want if you're already in that phase of just being that obsessed over that idol or group and you want to know as much as you can about them, but you don't have that access to that, you're going to try really hard to get to it. And
Yeah.
then I guess it depends on like the fandom itself, like who you're talking to and how you're influenced that way to where I think it was easier to become obsessive then than now because you always have that need to figure out more about someone when you don't have that the access for it. Like
See, I'm
I don't know
opposite.
anything about that's like
I'm the opposite for that, just personally, like on a personal
no,
level.
I'm just trying to
I'm the
like
opposite.
compare it to
No, I
something.
no, I know, but like just go while you think of your comparison. I'm the opposite on a personal level, just because like they're a celebrity, they're a
Well,
public
yeah,
figure.
the
Like
thing
I
is
don't
like
care.
we're able to like they're obviously a celebrity. We understand that what they show is just that's part of their job.
Yeah,
But if I can't even compare it to anything because I'm not like well, I guess I could. It's like when you're really involved like you're really in love with like a character, like a fictional character, and you only know what's like in that book. So then you're like, but I really want to know. I want to know their past. I want to know their whole personality. I want to know what made them the person that they are today, like as a character. Like people are really into that. That's like, hey, bringing up that comparison, but literally like Harry Potter characters, people are so
yeah,
passionate about finding out about the characters and understanding them. So if you try to put that in place of an idol, I get why it makes more sense why people would become more obsessive that way because they
obsessive.
want to know everything like that. Whereas like now you could like literally the moment that BTS made a Twitter account, you knew so much more about or just groups in general. You knew much more about them. You knew what music they liked. You knew like they interacted with fans occasionally, and just them tweeting felt personable.
Yeah,
Um, But yeah, I don't back then because it was just limiting. I get why it was more extreme compared to like now, I guess. Um, I don't know, girl. Like the point is that I'm not doing that. I'm simply not. I'm just not that
see,
devoted. Even
I'm just personally the opposite because like for me it's like okay, they're a celebrity, they're a public figure, they've got a private life. And so
Literally, the more I love a person, like an idol, I'm gonna be terrified to meet you. I wouldn't know what to do. I would run away. I would run away. I'd be like, oh my God, I gotta go. Like Jungkook, if I met him, like if I saw him like at a place, I think I would, I don't know, I would leave. I wouldn't know what to do. I
Your
couldn't even
mind
hide it.
definitely your mind definitely does shut down. There's been interactions in
I
person
would not know what to do.
with Monster
Just
X where I'm just like, what was I
them
doing?
too.
Like out of
Oh
body
my God.
experience. In
I
December this past December when I had seen them for the meet and greet, that was the first time seeing Kihyun in person because he was injured during the first high touch I did. And I literally like stopped in front of him and I was like
golly, you beautiful.
I was like, what am I doing here?
I imagine that's how I would react too. Because time and time again, people always say like like they're already beautiful
They're
from what
pretty
you
in
see
person.
digitally, but in person, it's like,
It's
whoa.
it's for a lot of them too. It's literally like the fan site photos you see taken, somebody cut them out of that fan site photo and just put them in front of you. Like that's
That's
some
insane. I
it's
want your
really
dermatologist. I want everything. I want to know. That's great for you, but what about me? I would like the same treatment. Give me the dermatologist and tell me how many times I need to go. How much is it? It's worth it. It just sounds worth it to me. But we can continue.
we can continue. Okay. I mean, we're good with tangents. I guess I'll just go
Do you
on to
want
the
to
next.
talk? But do you want to talk about the 2006?
Oh yeah. So this is where the differentiation between a Sasaeng fan and an anti fan comes in because this one was like all over. And if you
This
don't know
was
about this,
crazy. This
and if you
was
don't know about
insane.
this, this is actually like go back and do some reading because this is a very notable K-pop incident overall. So in 2006, Yoonho, who is a member of TVXQ and JYJ, was poisoned by an anti-fan. The fan delivered some juice and like food, like a lot of fans do, to TV. Was it TVXQ or JYJ at this point? I don't know which it was, but they delivered it as like a fan gift, and they laced the orange juice bottles with glue, like super glue, and Yunho drank it. He ended up being hospitalized for quite a bit of time and he had to have his stomach pumped as a result of just taking in so much glue because it wasn't like one bottle, it was multiple of these bottles were poisoned. And he actually went on a show later on, I think maybe in 2015 or so, and talked about
Mhm.
the experience, and he said he was traumatized like afterwards, which makes sense, but it was traumatizing to the point that he said he had to sit down with orange juice one day and like he couldn't even open the bottle. Like he had to teach himself how to reopen an orange juice
Oh, he was
bottle
doing exposure therapy,
and getting rid of that
basically.
trauma. Um so that's where the line of Sasaeng and anti-fan come in. Like the anti-fan didn't like JYJ TVXQ, did not like this K-pop group, wanted them to fail to the point of they were willing to try and kill a person. Like it's extreme.
That I don't know.
That's an
That's
event too. Even when I think of Sasaeng fans, unfortunately, this is an event that always comes to mind even though it was an act of an anti-fan, just because it's one of those events that's so ingrained in the culture of just like being so extreme as a fan, whether you're an anti-fan or an actual fan, it's just one of those things that's just you could get to that point where you accidentally, as a Sasang or as a regular fan, if you level up to Sasang, you could get to that point where you cause harm to your idol And like I know this was an act done intentionally, but whenever I think of Sasaengs, I always kind of default back to thinking about this incident
A lot
because
of people labeled it as a sasaeng, and it's not even to say like there have been sasaeng fans that have done extremes like this to get attention from their idol. Like that's their goal, for them
we
to
have
be
a few.
remembered. We have so much, but I'm saying like,
We have a few coming up that are like really.
oh, you don't have to tell me. I remember those vividly. So it's just another thing of like sasaengs. Their goal is to be remembered
Yeah.
from the idol or group.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't care if it's a negative impact, which usually, I mean, it that kind of really falls towards the anti-fan line, but there are sasaengs, I would say, that will go to that extreme to do something, and if their idol remembers them, whether it's negatively or positively impacted, they don't care. They just
No,
know
they're
that
just
their
like
idol knows
they
them.
remember me. They remember
Yeah.
me. That's it.
Yeah. So that was one of the more extremes pre 2014. Well, no, it wasn't one of the more extremes pre 2014.
If we're
2010 was
gonna
a
divide
wild
them
year.
into extremes, this is like the top section of what the heck is going on.
Is going on. 2010 and 2009 were quite a intense year though if you want to go chronologically instead of by incident, because I was doing like most common incidents. So tvxq had a lot of fans that would try and break into their houses, follow them home, put GPS on their cars, that sort of thing. There have also been multiple cases of car accidents because of fans
I remember
following,
that. That's
and
very common.
that kind of like tvxq, the reason I ordered this list the way I did is tvxq's fans of like GPS
Set
tracking on
the
the car,
they
yeah,
set the
kind of
standard.
set this in motion.
Yeah.
Super Junior, Lee Tuk, and Heechul were actually involved in a car accident in Singapore because 8 fan cars were chasing them. There's also a case that's not on this list of uh,
Let's do
Jackson.
it. Oh.
Jackson got 7. I just lost his name. I was just thinking about your comment about how you called him handsome the other day in text message.
Okay, but he was looking real good in that
in,
video.
my, in my head, I just thought handsome boy, and I was like, okay, what's handsome boy's name?
That's valid.
um,
He is handsome boy.
so Jackson in Hong Kong was followed by 10 fan cars, and he was in an accident as well. He actually had like a minor injury come from it.
I remember
Um,
that being like, I don't know where I read in depth about, maybe it was because of the PowerPoint or something I did in class, but that was so common for Sasaeng fans to like pay taxi drivers to follow.
chase down the idol.
Yeah. And they just did it. Like they did it. Like they're just like,
And
okay, for sure.
SNSD song popped into my head when you said taxi. Because that song's really a beat. Can you imagine
Mhm.
being in a taxi? That song is playing and you're like, follow that idol van.
And you're just like, okay, where's the money?
That would be a movie montage, a movie scene. A very
I know
bad
that was
one,
so
but
ideal for Sasaeng fans when that song dropped. This is it. This is
this
our
is
time.
it. But yeah, it's really common for fans to just say get in a car or get their own car and say like, "Hey, follow them." Like that's something
And
you
that the
only
thing
see
is,
in
like, that's one
movie
of the tame
chases.
ones. The thing is, like, that's one of
Yes,
the tame and common
things that
practices.
happens along with being outside of people's homes. So
Mhm.
2013, G Dragon and his sister. It was actually his sister's house. This one I remember too, like the article coming out because G
Mhm.
Dragon tried to address it himself to fans publicly first, and then
Mhm.
it excelled to this
Escalated.
point.
Escalated.
Escalated, thank you. Escalated is the word that I
No,
wanted.
it's okay.
Fans were like waiting outside of his sister's house, having snuck past security, and they weren't just like waiting there. They were hiding in the bushes, hiding behind things, and like him and his sister were just terrified. And like his sister even got on Instagram at that point back then and was like, "Please stop. Like I've got a family, it's scaring my brother, it's scaring me and my family, like this isn't okay." Um
Hiding in
and then
bushes, girl. Like,
yeah, hiding in bushes to do what? To see them? To get a picture? Like to say
to see
hi?
them walking into a place, they're not
Yeah,
going to
just
come out on the porch because y'all are out there. They're
it's
not going to
so
do anything.
weird. And then kind of falling in line with the home thing, 2014 there were a lot of reports of fans being outside of houses and possible breaking and enterings. And this was like 2014 prior, but this is still super common. Zico of Block B, Yonghwa of CN Blue, 2PM members, EXO members. Lay was mentioned specifically in my notes, but EXO members are constantly they're a group that have constantly got on
Yeah.
V
I
Live
remember
when
a
that
lot of
became
stuff.
popular and telling fans like stop waiting outside for me, stop following me home, stop calling me, like it's not okay. EXO are very popular for getting on
Yeah,
and
that's
calling fans out.
that was the one that group was the one where I felt like the hacking of the cell phones was so
That one I think
repetitive or all the
exploded with them.
time. Like that
Like
it just happened every single time they got a new phone. And it was
it was
just
common I think before that, but for EXO specifically, I do think that it like exploded with them, like getting personal phone numbers and selling the phone numbers and idols constantly having to get new phones. Like I think it did explode with EXO.
mhm. But
Um
going back,
yeah, to the EXO incident on the
no,
topic of
like
EXO. Oh,
I think we're just like those are like common occurrences, but I think when we're going through like our notes, another like extreme one of the one that I always think back to is definitely the one with 2 p.m. Like the incident in 2009 with Taeseon with the fan writing in blood and then you found
oh,
out it
that
was
yeah, the more extreme.
menstrual blood. Like that was I don't even have words
Yeah.
for that. I think that was like the first time I read something to an extreme as a Sasaeng fan before like knowing everything else basically where they really she was like dedicating her life to him and
Yeah.
she can't live without him. And
Yeah.
then
So
she used some of her hairs on the letter and I just never
understood that one. That
this
one
is
was really
why I
crazy.
want to get because it's just like is your goal to be remembered like that's the goal or do you want to have impressed them like is that the goal what goal is it because you're not impressing them doing it that way is terrifying like I don't
Yeah.
see if
That
someone
one
did
was
that to
really
you
disgusting too. Like that was where I kind of realized as a younger fan, because these incidents, the blood writing incidents of 2009 and 2010,
like it's labeled
that
blood incidents y'all because it's more than once it's
yeah,
happened to
and it
different groups
happened,
more
and
than once
the one with Taekyeon actually caused a chain of events. And
oh my
I remember
god
I was like 16 at the time that this happened, 16 or 17. And so these are incidents where me as a teenager, a younger K-pop fan, I really realized like, okay, a Sasaeng just isn't like a Sasaeng fan. This is like crazy stalker obsessive
I remember seeing those
things
pictures I was
going
like
on.
what the
Yeah, they
is
posted
going
pictures of
on
it and I was like,
I don't want to. What?
"Oh,
It's real. It's not fake. Like they're not making this shit up. It's
no."
like she did that. Why would you? I
It
just
was
don't.
not.
I was bewildered. That was wild. I was
It
like, you
was.
really? He really did that. There was another incident, I think, with 2 p.m. where, the dating rumor things and how, like, people lost their mind whenever they felt like some of their idols were like dating someone. And I will never forget the one where I think it was a 2 p.m. member where they were just out and someone had a picture of like the spoon and they were trying to get the reflection of like who they were eating with. I remember that.
Ah!
I remember that extreme of like Sasaeng fans trying to like, or I don't
Figure out.
know. I feel like Sasaeng fans and like really passionate fans
Really passionate fans too.
were
Fan
trying to
sites as
figure out who
well.
it was. And I remember seeing that and I was like, what? The dedication to zoom in on
On a
like
spoon.
on a spoon from the year 2000 to try to figure out if they were eating with like a female or anybody. Like that's also something I always think about. Because I don't know what K drama that was, but something like that happened where it wasn't a Sasaeng fan incident, but it was like an event that was going on, and he found out something by a reflection of it was
What was
something
in the
crazy.
spoon?
It was either like a spoon or like a camera lens. It was something insane where I just remember closing it. And I was like, this is
This.
crazy. I was like, I'm done. This is not like romantic. It's just like that never happens. That just never. I'm never like. It was one of those things where I think the girl was talking to like another guy and he was interested. It was like a love triangle thing, and he found out through the reflection, and
From the
it was
spoon.
weird. It was a reflection of something insignificant. It wasn't even a mirror. It was weird. I was like, this is a joke. I
And then
think that was
people
like
are
one of the
doing it in
turning
real
points
life.
as to why I don't watch K dramas. Like that was one of the moments where I was like, this is just
And then to find out people are doing it in real life.
and it worked. Like
And it worked.
and they found out. The things that they find out, it's not a mystery. These how do y'all do that? How did y'all need to become FBI agents or something? Like
Do
talent is
something
going
better
to
with your time.
waste. So
So Taekyun's incident though triggered two other blood incidents, blood related incidents.
yay.
So Lee Jun of M Black also received a fan letter in blood and basically was just like, don't forget me. Um what else did she? I
Don't
don't
forget
forget me.
me.
I only have you. I love you is what she had wrote down. And then she literally, the fan literally referenced the Taekyon blood incident as her motive and was like, so period blood is gross. I'll show you what real blood writing is. So this girl, the second girl, cut herself somewhere
I'm
and used
telling you, it's
blood.
a competition. It's not even competition. It's like bragging rights. It's literally bragging rights. How can I do this better? And to be like, in this case, we have evidence of her wanting to leave an impression,
Yes,
not necessarily
a good one.
like not a good impression, like just to be remembered by in this incident instead of like trying to be a pick me girl is
Yeah.
the best way I could compare it to. She said,
I
I'm gonna do this better.
than this other person did. I'm actually really curious though, like where are these two specific girls now
I
and
wanna
what
know
are they
where
doing?
everybody is. I wanna know where
These
everyone
these two
is.
specifically though who did this, especially the girl that was like, "Nah,
I wanna
period
know where the
blood."
orange juice girl is too. I wanna know where they are. What are you doing?
Okay, yeah, orange juice girl too. Like, where are you now? What are you doing? What's your life like now? Has this affected you long term? What made you
Do you
do
look
it?
back on this and go, damn, I was really crazy,
Yeah,
huh?
like
How old were you when you did that? That's what I want to know too. Because I don't remember.
ages being
No, and I kind of assumed they're around our age by the time we were reading those articles.
same.
I don't know. Where are y'all? What are you
Because
doing?
Sasaeng, the like standard age group, I think, if you look it up, is usually anywhere from fans in their like mid teens to
Hmm.
mid 20s is what they like classify. Anywhere from like 16,
Like if they're
15 would be the
driving
youngest
around
to like
following the vans, you're in your
25.
20s,
Yeah.
right? That's
I would hope you
wild.
are.
I don't
I
know
would hope
that
you're
like
not.
driving age. I don't know what the driving
Yeah.
age
But I
is.
mean, like, a teenager could also have money to get into a car and a taxi and say, follow that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if it's the taxi that they're using, they're more than likely younger. But if they
Younger.
have their
Yeah.
own car, they're in their 20s,
Yeah.
which is like, I'm just trying to figure out the age range here.
The
Like,
age
who,
range.
I'm trying to figure out the percentages.
I mean, when you look at Google, it says anywhere from like 16 to 25, I think. I think it's actually younger, like 22, but I'm like, nah, there's got to be fans that are way older than that doing this
I'm
because some of this
convinced.
is
Yeah.
orchestrated so like intensely that I'm like, there's no
I
way a
don't.
teenager could have come up with this or like had the
Okay, with
means
the
to do
blood
it.
stuff,
Okay,
I
yeah,
could
no, the
see the
blood stuff, yeah.
teenagers
The
doing
blood
that.
stuff, yeah, but some of the other stuff, I'm like, you you have to have
What
some.
is one that makes you say that? Which incident makes you say that?
For me, the orange juice one comes to mind first. And I'm not saying like a teenager couldn't have done it, but I'm just more of the mindset of like this person I feel like had to have
Really?
been older cuz like the cost of buying fan goods to send. I sent Juhan a package and it cost like 90 something dollars to get it to
Mm,
Korea.
that's valid. Because my thing is that teenagers don't really understand the impact they have on their actions. Um,
Mhm. Yeah,
that's
no,
just
I
what
get
I
that.
know listening with like crime podcasts. It's just like at that age, they don't understand like
Stan. But for some of the more, like, extreme
that's
stuff, like the
interesting.
anti-fan stuff, or at least the orange juice one comes to mind first because I'm thinking of it like, yeah, teenagers don't understand sometimes the
I think that would be a teenager. So we're opposite on that.
but the cost of it for me, like, just having sent fan gifts and letters a couple of times before, the cost, I'm just like,
Well, that's
"Where is this
valid.
teenager getting this money from?" Like, that's why
But
I
what
think
if
it
the
would have to be
fan
someone maybe in university
but what if their fan
age
what if the
range.
fan is just like their parents got money
That could happen too.
and like they don't I just we don't we're
We're
never gonna
never gonna
know.
know.
It's just it because it's gonna make sense for either age group. It's gonna make sense if they're a teenager because they're just it's like the
Reckless
same
and dumb.
concept of sending death threats and you're a teenager. Like
Mhm.
you're just you feel like you're doing something of justice and they deserve it and you don't really care what happens. And then it happens and it's just kind of like I don't know. It's either the oh shit moment or the detachedness of it. But as like an
Yeah.
older person too, that's just I don't know. I feel like if you're older, you really understand what you're trying to do. Like you're trying to like essentially kill somebody.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I don't think
But
you
I
really
mean,
understand that. You're just wanting them to get like
no,
sick
but I
and
mean
leave the group.
they did get some information from the girl, the orange juice poisoning girl, and she did say like that she wanted them to fail, that she didn't like them.
She wanted them to
So,
fail. She didn't want them to die.
well, let me without adding too much time.
This is all about Orange Juice Girl. This is why we need an update as to like where is she?
Yeah, where is she now? What does she think of this?
How did that impact your
No.
career
So,
life?
one of the reports is that the fan was trying to kill him.
Okay, then yeah, you knew what the heck you were doing. Like that's insane. You
So
had a
that's why
motive.
I think for that one, maybe a little bit older, not just a teenager.
Y'all are
Considering the
crazy either
cost
way.
of everything and then also just the
You need
intent. Like
help
she
either
did have
way.
the intent to kill. Yeah, yeah, you do. Another crazy one that's on a lesser scale than being so extreme. Well, I guess I should also mention there was one other blood incident. A year later, Wonder Girls, a fan cut her wrist and wanted Wonder Girls to have a comeback. And so she wrote Comeback Wonder Girls and she posted the picture of the blood writing and the scar on her wrist. And there were
That
that one Taekyon incident triggered a bunch of other intense things. And I was just like, what are you guys all doing with yourselves?
competition. It's not a
It's
competition.
not a,
It's really
it's
like
not a,
seeing something, seeing the reaction for it and realizing that
I
you
could
can
do that
also
too. Yeah.
generate, yeah, you can generate that same reaction towards the girl. The group, not the girl, the group that you are in love with. Don't
Yeah.
do that. Don't
One
do
that
that.
was crazy though, on a lesser scale, like I said. In 2013, EXO were also almost kidnapped by a Sasaeng. And this one just makes me laugh because I'm like, how? Um, but the fan like rented out a vehicle that looked almost exactly like a company fan. And if it hadn't been for their manager going like, wait, something is wrong here, this girl would have just driven off with like
Where
12
were you gonna
EXO
go
members. Yeah, right?
with
What were,
everybody in that van? Like, what were you going to do?
like, what? The attention behind that one makes me laugh because it's like, okay, what was going to happen when they get in the van? Like, where were you going to go? Were
The
you
thing
actually
is,
kidnapping them? Where were you going to take them? Were you just going to go for a joyride? Like, what was going
y'all gonna
on
get
there?
like ramyun after? Like, what the heck were you trying to do?
Let's all go to the Han River, order some chicken and ramen. I just
Like, I just I don't know. Selfies, girl? Like, that's what you wanted?
that
That
one
is pretty
was
wild. Oh my
that one is
god.
wild and
That's
crazy, less
scary.
less extreme to an extent, still scary, but also kind of funny reading about it because I'm like, that's another
Bro,
person I
y'all
want to know.
almost got into the wrong van. That's
Van.
literally the equivalent of over here how you gotta watch out which car you get into in terms of like Lyft and Uber.
Yeah. EXO has had a lot of incidents too. There was
Yes,
also
they've
a
been through a lot.
bathroom incident where a couple of fans literally like shaved their heads and dressed up as boys and went into a bathroom where the EXO members were, and
What
we have
was
thunder.
the reason? What was
Yeah,
the reason?
especially in a
Like,
bathroom. Like
y'all shaved your heads? You didn't just want to do a haircut? Like that didn't
they
come.
like
That's I don't. Oh my god, I don't know.
that was just
I don't
another
know.
crazy one that wasn't on
That
our
is
list that I
crazy.
just
Let's shave our heads. Oh my god, that is so smart. That's a good idea. That's we need to do that now. Come on. Like
shaved their heads, dressed up as boys, walked into the men's bathroom, and I okay, like as much as I love my idols, I don't want to experience meeting them in a bathroom, seeing them come
I'm
out of the
just trying to
bathroom.
understand the motive. Like, okay, it happened. So then, like, what y'all doing in the bathroom? Y'all are literally
like
like,
even just out of courtesy and privacy for my favorite idols, I don't even want to be there when
I
they
don't
walk
want to be
out
in
of the
that
bathroom.
bathroom.
I don't even want to be there when they walk out of the bathroom though. Like let them have their
What?
privacy. Let them have their moment.
Like it happens, and y'all, and you're just like,
The bathroom should be a sacred place, not where you just walk in and stare them down as they walk out.
I'm a girl, and I love you. Like, what were they supposed? Oh my god, that's crazy. Let's get dinner. Like,
In the bathroom.
you want to know how I met my wife? She shaved her head off one day,
I
and I
I
met her in the bathroom. She
cross-dressed and
cross
snuck into
dressed
the
to meet
bathroom.
me, and for some reason, that really just touched me. And we went to dinner after, and it was love. So, like, that's is that what the like? I don't know. I don't know. I don't see that written anywhere. Like, not even in fanfics. So that just seems very unrealistic. It just doesn't make sense. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, nope.
I don't see any fanfics where the main character does that. It is a happy ending, or does it
Nope.
at all. So,
Nope.
uh,
Um, I guess we can move on to the second half of the segment. That was just an idea of what happened like in the early
throughout.
years of K-pop and what kind of set up the Sasaeng fan culture. But ironically enough, things had gotten so extreme, at least with the stalking portion of like fans showing up outside of the house, trying to sneak in the house, following them in cars or cars, not cards. Um, that the government in Korea in 2018 actually discussed trying to finalize like a plan regarding stalking and dating violence and preventative measures and penalties. But as of November that same year in 2018, because it happened really early in 2018, nothing had been done. And so kind of the question of like Lacey had asked really early on, and Lacey had asked me before we started this podcast when she was getting back into K-pop is, are Sasaeng fans still a thing? The answer is yes, obviously.
Womp
That's
womp.
why. Womp womp. The answer is obviously yes. Like that's just something coming into this episode you guys probably knew. Nothing has changed. But we had mentioned maybe the outlets in which things are happening may have changed now with the digital age. But unfortunately, there's not much protection or anything for idols
Which is
regarding
wild.
stopping these.
It's wild to me that after all of these years, that y'all haven't really changed the precautions or up the security or anything when it comes to idols.
Yeah.
Like, that's what blows me, is that you've had all these incidents and you still do the same thing, essentially. Like, you haven't changed the routine of how things are done. It's just, oh, what happened? Let's give them a slap on the wrist and
And really, too, there's only so much the company can do. Like at
mm-hmm.
at that rate, it falls. It really does fall on the government. So it's wild that they haven't taken extra preventative measures because there's really only so much that the company can do to protect their idol. Like they can hire bodyguards and that sort of thing, but at the same time, that is still a person protecting another person. Like
Like, at
there's
least with
only
laws, you could
yeah, with
probably.
laws you could get the point across like don't do this, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
And it says something to just, we're not saying like, oh, you need to make laws specifically for sasaeng. I think generally you need to make laws for stalking.
stalking. Mm-hmm.
And because I think there's been a lot of incidents for just regular people where nothing's really done about it. Because it's the same thing in the States.
Done about it.
Nothing is done until it's too late.
Yeah. And in that instance too, a lot of it falls within the dating violence realm, which is why in 2018 the Korean government was discussing both as like a whole project and
Mm-hmm.
idea, is because like Lacey said, nothing is done until it's too late and or too late, and at that rate it all these words with eight in them are just confusing me. But at that point it's like the person is
Someone's
most like
injured or something extreme has happened.
it's happened,
Like,
yeah.
and that's in regards to a lot of things. Like, not even just stalking. Like,
Yeah.
and it's so frustrating. It is really frustrating. Like, that's, I hate it. I really do. Because it's not even just here, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate that they can't do anything until something happens. Like, what are you
Why
saying?
why
Like,
do you have to wait until something happens? Because at that point, it's probably the extreme that's happening,
yeah,
and
it's
and
exactly what it
and
is.
the person who needs the help has warned you multiple times that this
Mhm.
is an issue, and at
And it
that, it's just
happens every
mind-blowing,
time. Yeah.
and it's
It's
mind-blowing that somebody of the government looks at that and says, "Oh, we need to fix this. It's a problem," but nothing is done, and it just
I
repeatedly
mean, not even just government, just like the whole system
the
regarding like
whole yeah.
personal safety and like
I just say government because they're at the top, like, it's a waterfall decision that
mhm.
kind of that's why I say government,
No, when I
but
say
yeah, just
government, everybody, like everybody that ever gets involved in like incidents like that play a part to helping that or fixing it, it's issues everywhere. Like,
yeah. And I wanna mention too, now that we're in the pre-2014 phase, as well as trying to fix the stalking issue, Sasaeng is not limited to just Korean fans.
oh
Um,
no, no, girl, just because it's a Korean word,
does
that's not
not
what that
mean, and I think
means.
that's what I think a lot of people get it mixed up because like a lot of international fans, for example, complain when they see on Twitter fan taking photos of their favorite idols in the airport after they've gone through ticketing and like bag check and everything. They're just there waiting to get on and board their flight. And they see photos of them just chilling, waiting for their flight. You'll have to excuse the weather if you hear the thunder. If my mic ends up picking it up, I apologize. Um,
I don't hear
it's really
anything, so you
go.
can keep
Oh,
talking.
that's good. It's really going though, so I was worried.
I don't
Um,
hear anything. I just
maybe
hear your
maybe
silence.
maybe the mic is fixed. My mic issue might be fixed. Anyway, a lot of like international fans complain about that, but then you see these idols travel abroad and all of a sudden the international fans are the ones that are waiting outside of the hotel room. And sometimes it's these same fans that are like, "Don't take the airport photos. That's their private space." Well, then why the heck are you outside of the hotel? Like, just because you happen to find out where their hotel was at doesn't mean you should be
You didn't just
there.
happen. That's the thing too. It's like
I
I
mean,
don't know. Y'all are on the same level.
I actually, well, like, I say happen because I'm giving the benefit of the doubt because I know a lot of LA hotels just because I worked in the hospitality industry
Mhm.
and we had like connections. I know one of the hotels that some of the groups have stayed at and gotten on V Live and like done their
But
V
when I
Live
say
from.
that, when I say that, I mean like you just happen to find out, but you just happen to go there. Like,
Yeah,
no,
no,
that's
no,
not.
I'm like that's different. That's where it's different.
No,
But I
because I
say
get what you
happen.
mean. I knew where BB. I knew all the places BAP was when they were in Georgia. I was like, I that's my campus.
That's California too. Whenever idols go there, even though I don't live there, I look at it and I'm like, I know where they're at right now. Am I gonna show up there? Heck
I'll
no.
never forget Zello being on live, and he was at that
At the
Waffle
Waffle
House,
House.
and it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and everybody was like, "Go home, do
Oh, why
not
are
be
you
out
at a
that late
Waffle
over there,
House?
like that area." I guess it's okay, but like, not really. Why are you out? No, but it was fun. That was like fun.
That
I
was
was happy for him.
he got the Waffle House experience. The whole Waffle House experience.
He
Cause
did, and
why?
like there was
Cause like
like security or a cop that popped up, and he was like messing with the filter too. It was fun. Like I felt like I was there. I feel like I had Waffle House with him.
to kind of lead into that with the message or like the mention of I cannot speak today, sorry. The
It's
mention
okay.
of international fans also being Sasaeng level. Um one that is really popular that a lot of people should know about is 2016 incident regarding BTS. They were in Sweden and I don't remember if they were on a schedule or if they were actually like vacationing. I don't remember what the thing was, but they had stopped at a cafe and they were enjoying themselves and they noticed about 20 or so fans outside just watching them. Kind of got uncomfortable. Staff asked them to leave. They didn't leave. And then when they finally went to leave the restaurant as a group, the fans started chasing them. And it got to the extent where, like, I remember Jin's shirt was ripped. Jungkook, I think, got lost running away in a foreign country.
I do not remember this.
You don't? Wow.
I don't think I remember that. That's crazy. I don't
that
think I remember that. I must have
that
been like in my studies. I wasn't really. There have been a lot of moments where I just was not paying it. I don't think I paid attention to that because I was getting upset every time incidents popped up. That I think I just ended up blocking a lot of that stuff. It was
yeah.
really
This
like,
was the reason I remember it is cuz this is about the year that I just got back from taking a break from K-pop. So like 20, I want to
hmm,
say
what album was
14,
that? That will help me
15.
a lot.
That's why I think I kind of am wondering what came out by BTS in 2016.
I'm looking it up right now. Mm, It's looking like when I stopped. When I stopped like being really into it. 2016.
Fire is like the one that comes up immediately, and Save.
Oh, that was Wings. The album Wings for Blood, Sweat, Tears. That's when like
Yeah,
they really started
to
picking up.
pick up internationally especially.
After this
But that's
album,
but this is
that
like when
was
I
it.
was just
Yeah.
getting back into K-pop from my break cuz I think 2014 is when I was not
Oh, but
doing
that's when I
well.
was coming out. That was definitely
Yeah,
when I was coming out.
yeah. Cuz like 20, I want to say 15, well 2016 too. This was like when I was kind of in it but not really. Um I was not doing well in school, so I took a break, but 2016 I think is when I got into Monster X. So it was like at the time when
Mhm.
I was kind of coming back in. So that's why I remember this incident. But I don't remember if they were vacationing or if they were on a schedule, but
I think they were on schedule.
as you said, it was when they were just really starting to blow up internationally, and
Wow. That's
this
wild.
happened. There's
Ripping
also
shirts,
been
y'all.
like they were grabbing them as they were running away, and I
That's
remember
insane. What were you
Jin's
going to
shirt
do
was ripped.
after grabbing
Um,
them?
yeah, like
Like that's what gets me. It's like y'all
why
do
would
these
you
things, but
chase them
what?
either? Like what would
It's
you
the fact that
actually
y'all were like
chase them for?
grabbing them. It's like you were grabbing them, and then
But
they
why
like
would you
y'all managed to separate them. What are y'all gonna
but
do after
my
that?
thing too is like why would you chase them? What initiated running after them? You
Because one person probably did it, and then it was one of those ripple effects that
everybody.
everybody started doing it. I mean, it's just like the bystander thing.
Yeah.
It's like
Crazy.
going to a Coachella concert, and then it's like, hate to say it. No, I'm not gonna say that artist's name. It's like Drake is on stage or Beyonce is on stage. Everybody starts running. Like
Yeah.
whoever is on stage, once you see one person run,
You
you
start
probably
running.
should do the same
Yeah.
because you want to get because it's someone important that you really are into. So you want to get the best seats. So you're gonna run if you see other people running. And I don't know, for black people, if you see somebody running, you're not asking questions, you're running too. I'm not saying that was the case, but I'm just
Yeah.
providing examples. I just that is
BTS
really
has had
scary.
a lot too of the phone call and changing their phone
Hmm.
numbers. They're another one like EXO where they've been subject to a lot of that
Wow.
constantly. Um do we want to go through the rest of the list like by year? Or do we just want to mention
No, we can actually just go into like currently,
okay,
like the
cuz this is what
last.
it is currently. Oh,
Mhm.
like the last like month, year?
We can do. I'll let you pick between 2020 and 2022. Like, do you want to do all 3 years? Because we can.
We should probably mention a couple of them, I think, from all 3 years.
Yeah.
Cuz like 2020 there was a big one that Another example, phone number thing. Wonho has also gone through that. That's one that's actually been happening constantly since he became solo.
Hmm.
But one that got a lot of traction and actually that I'm familiar with, Monster X's Minhyuk, had to call out a fan. Like he actually got on the fan cafe and was like, "You're not a real fan if you're doing this. This is not okay." I think they were either at a regular schedule or an award show, but a fan had a ladder and was like using it, propping it up to take either photos, see them. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know if it was like a fan site or what had happened, but it ended up blocking like their car, and it was putting them, the fan on the ladder, and others like surrounding in danger.
What?
And Minhyuk got on Fan Cafe and he was like, "This isn't okay. Like, don't do this."
It's just
So that was
also
one
interesting when idols voice their concerns and
about,
they tell the Sasaeng fans to like stop essentially, and they don't.
and they don't. Yeah,
So like, what do you
I've
really?
noticed too that idols are starting to get bolder with doing that, which I think is
What else can
good.
they do?
Like Minhyuk and Wonho have both been ones to get on and say like, "Hey, if you do this, you're not a real fan." Like one that was just recent in the
Yeah,
last month, I think, this month or last month.
it was this month.
Wonho, oh, it was this month. Yeah, Wonho's currently abroad on schedule in another country. He came out of his hotel room and there were fans waiting outside and like stalking him, following him everywhere. And then he went back to his hotel room, got on V Live, and literally was just like, "I'm not going to view you as a fan if you act this way. Like, this isn't okay."
Are you not embarrassed? Like, you gotta be embarrassed when that happens. Like,
That's
and
not
then
the
like
way.
it doesn't stop. So it's like, do you really like this idol when they've said not to do it?
Yeah. And like it's one thing to see your idol randomly on the street.
Oh yeah, or just it's randomly somewhere.
Yeah. And
But
to actually follow them, and like they know the difference too. They
mhm,
they can tell, they're aware of their surroundings. They know if you've been following them, and they know if it's just a random like, "Oh my god," interaction on the street of like, "I saw you really quick." Like they can tell how genuine you are essentially, because you
yeah,
react much
because
differently if you're doing something intentionally versus I turned the corner and my favorite idol was there.
mhm.
Like they are able
Like,
to
I would
tell.
be so I wouldn't know what to do. Any fan that like reacts that way, if I was literally just out at eating or somewhere, I'm in the checkout line or I'm getting like my Starbucks, and then Jackson is like right behind me. What am I gonna?
I would, if I'd probably just turn and look, turn again and look and be
knowing
like,
me,
"Okay."
knowing me, I think I've said this before. Because I've met Andrew Young. He I've met Andrew Young. He went to the Euphoria I worked at. But when he first came the first few times, I was like, do I know him? Like, did he go to a church that we've been to? Like, do my parents know him? And then, like, I somehow know him. That is the reaction I have every time I, like, see someone of like important status basically. Like if I saw
That's
Drake, I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't think like that. If I saw Janet or Beyonce, I would be like, "Oh my god, that's like actually them." But if it was I feel like it was if it was an idol, my first reaction is to be like, "God, they are the most beautiful person I've ever laid eyes on. Why are they so beautiful?" And then when the
my
moment passed,
reaction.
it's like, "Was that an idol?"
My reaction, just having like personally seen like Monsta X and Zico in person, for example, if
Mhm.
I were to see them in a natural setting where I'm like out eating, or say like I've gone to LA before and I've been to some of the places in like Tem, Juhan's friend who has his like
Mhm.
niece that isn't his niece. I've been to some of the places in some of her vlogs in like LA and I'm like, "Oh, that's my favorite ramen shop." If I were to be eating and they walked in, I would probably just stare. Like, I don't think I would interact with them
Yeah, I think I'd
because
be like, I'm totally hallucinating.
there's yeah, same. And there's such a difference in like going to an event and seeing them in person versus you being in your real life, like, and
Living
they
your
walk
life.
in. Yeah, living your life and they walk in. Like, I would probably be eating and just stare like, is this happening right
Wow,
now?
that's crazy. We're eating at the same place.
I don't think I would as much as I adore Juhan, Monster X, any of my idols, I don't think I would interact with them
I wouldn't
on
either
that scale.
because I just really think about I just I would never I would love to have a selfie with them, but I always think about like this is their break.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bother you while you're eating because I don't want to be bothered while I'm eating.
Why? Yeah.
So that's great. I saw you. It's really great. I saw you.
I just
I
ingrain
could
it into my
if I
mind
was bold enough, I would be like, "Thank you for existing." I'd be like, "I love your music." That's all I would say, and then I
and then
would run.
walk. I would like walk really quickly. Hi, I love your music. Bye.
You're
Book it out
amazing,
of there.
and I would leave. I would leave. I wouldn't say
Just
anything
leave.
else. I just want to know what else to do. Like, I'm not enjoy.
um, one that is really crazy that actually happened last year that is also borderline very gross and weird. Gravity was subject to some unwarranted physical contact from an overage fan, Sasaeng, that snuck
Mm,
into Starship's building
mhm.
and was just like going up, touching them. A lot of details for the
Why?
story weren't
Why are y'all
revealed.
touching people?
A lot of details weren't like revealed, but there was physical contact involved, and it was a lady and minors. Gravity are all younger than her, or some of them were underage at the time. Or I
I
don't think
just
any of them were underage,
know
but like everyone was younger, and so it was just one of those things where it was like that one got weird.
what's crazy is that if that ever happened to like an artist in the States, if they were ever touched like that, it's a fight. It is like
No, I
you can't
know.
just put your
Well, that's
hands on
that's my
anybody.
initial reaction too. Is like if you touch me,
Yeah,
I'm gonna deck you. Like get
yeah.
out
That's my
of my face.
goal. Automatically, my goal. I don't know you, and for you to do that, I'll
Mhm.
worry about what I gotta worry about after I try to like knock you
Afterwards,
out.
yeah.
But you don't
I
do
retweeted
that.
something actually about just a customer service interaction where an angry
Mhm.
customer was upset at the person behind the counter and like hit the person working. And I saw that and I was like, man, if that had been me at the hotel, F my
I don't care
job,
about
F
yeah, I don't care if
anything.
I have the
If
job.
you're a customer and you think you're entitled enough to hit me, my job
Or
is not
throw
worth
something
that.
at
Or
some
throw
that
something, like that's a
best
fight.
believe I'm gonna do it back. Like, what are you gonna do? You're
That's
gonna
a
cry
fight.
about it and be embarrassed because you weren't expecting the same reaction back. Like
Yeah. But it's just so
that's a
crazy
whole
because
other
like,
rant.
it's such an American thing to, like, that's our reaction, but
You can't do that.
you can't do that. Like, idols can't do that. Actually, and going, like, way back in time, there was actually a moment where Junho and I think maybe Jaejung of JYJ had actually had interactions with Sasaeng fans getting too
Mhm.
close to them and, like, too personal, and one of them had, like, pushed the girl or, like, kind of, like, picked her up and he got so much backlash, he had to put out a public apology. Like, why?
Yeah, and the same thing would have happened with Gravity. Like it would happen
Yeah,
with any artist, to be honest.
yeah, and I don't think it's fair. Like,
I don't think it's fair either.
it's unwarranted physical contact. You
They gotta
don't have
defend
to be
themselves.
subject. Yeah, you have a right to defend yourself. Um, trying to think. Oh, another one that was just recent. Well, last year, the car thing. This is the one where I was surprised that the car thing is still being done. Like people are tracking their cars. A tease was actually subject to stalking by Sasaengs by attaching trackers to company vehicles. And that one surprised me in the year of 2022 and 2021 because like I said, I'm a member of a couple fan cafes for a couple groups. You can get on the fan cafe and see their schedule. Like it's on the calendar on the phone. You essentially, as bad as it is, already know where they're going to be. Why are you putting a GPS tracker to their car? It's
I don't have an answer
2022.
for that because it doesn't make sense either. It's going back to like I think it's just bragging, like being able to
Right.
do it,
Being able to say that you did it.
or maybe you just want to know where they go after the
The
meetup
schedule
or
is done.
something.
um and another one that's really recent is, well, SM Entertainment got some backlash for not protecting their idols at a public gym. A lot of fans were actually just wanting to know, SM is rich, why don't they have a private gym for their idols?
That is weird.
But Sasaengs were signing up for this gym where a lot of SM Entertainment artists go and using the membership to just get a closer look. And the public gym had to issue a statement on Instagram saying like, "Hey, don't do this anymore." And so SM was mostly receiving the backlash of like, one, not protecting their idols, but that kind of goes back to the thing of, like I said, you can only protect them so much. And then two, it also falls into the line of like, fans were upset, why don't you have a private gym? Which that is weird. It's like
I do think that's really weird
you're one of
that
the
as
top
big
3
as your
entertainment
company,
companies.
that's not one of the first things y'all ended up doing after
Yeah,
these
and
events.
it's they're one of the top 3 entertainment companies too. Like why don't they have a private gym
The way I
in
would have
their
a whole floor of my company building be a gym.
well, like you have enough dance
Because you have the
studios.
studios.
Yeah, so why don't you have a gym? I like how we thought of that at the same exact time. Like that doesn't make sense.
Why would you not want that? It would
It does.
benefit literally everybody.
It doesn't. Yeah, I just but
That
I
is
think
really weird.
I think that one just falls under the line of like your company can only protect you so much because if the idol wasn't on a schedule and it was their personal time and they just wanted to go to the
Yeah.
gym, that's not really on SM,
Mhm.
unfortunately, to send a bodyguard with them to the gym
And it's not like these idols want a bodyguard with them anywhere anyway.
all the
Like they
time.
just
Yeah.
want to be they
Treated
just
as
want
a
to have
human being.
a regular day. And y'all are making it impossible by doing
For
this
them to
weird
do it.
stuff. But
Okay.
make a
Well,
gym. Someone
yeah.
should make a gym. Man, I'm just giving out the business idea. Make a gym and make it just for idols. You're welcome. At least give me credit when you do it. Like
At least give me credit.
that's all I like. Lacey thought of this idea. Like that would be so much money. Idols only gym, and it's specifically like you're just an idol and you get to go there and work out. There's multiple floors. You got a sauna, pool, everything in there. You can do everything in there. And now I'm jealous.
Because you want a gym like that?
I mean, it's my business idea, and
Oh.
I that does sound nice. It does sound nice. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, last one that's super recent within this last month too is Golden Child is also on international um or is abroad and they're doing international schedules right now and
Mhm.
they have also been subject to stalkers conveniently showing up outside of their hotel and the fans posted photos like selfies with them and was like, look who I like saw outside the hotel, I just happened to like come across them. And then some other fans did some digging and they discovered that they were intentionally waiting outside of this hotel for photos of them. So as we said, it's
I
not
don't have
just
any
just because
words.
sasaeng is a Korean word does not mean it is a Korean issue only. It is
Mm-mm.
an abroad thing. And if you were stalking them, showing up outside of their hotel, showing up where they're recording things, you are also a saucing, whether you're American, European, or otherwise.
My thing is that I feel like this just goes like generally. If you're like sneaking and taking photos of somebody, you don't question that. Like that's an invasion of privacy. Like it doesn't matter what they're doing, and if you just happen to be there and you just sneakily take a picture, that's odd. It's
Yeah.
odd, and it's an invasion of privacy. It's only okay when you ask, and then you're allowed to do it, and it works out so much better than you doing it like sneakily. So,
Yep.
hmm.
It's stalking at its core. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the main thing to take from this is it's stalking. And like if you don't question it, I don't know.
If you think it's
I
okay, um,
maybe
it's not.
reevaluate some
It's just no, it's
things.
not.
It's not. It reevaluates some things.
Because I've been thinking about that a lot, just like in terms of privacy. Like when people record or take pictures of like moments where people are oblivious to that, like that it is an invasion of privacy. It's
And
like
normal people, like when you see those things on Twitter, for example, normal people give other regular normal people a lot of backlash for it. Like, why did you take their picture without asking? Like, it's,
when couples are having a moment and somebody records that, or like
yeah.
someone's eating by themselves and they record that, and like it's so sad to see old people eating by themselves. Like you don't know them.
Yeah.
Like they are fine. And if you really feel that bad, how about you just go up to them and be like, "Hey,
Rather than
would you like to
recording
eat
them.
lunch together?" And they're like, "Get out of my face." Just get off my face. Like they're not lonely.
Get
Like
out of here.
you're making assumptions of people, and then like they just really feel like they're alone and they're actually not. And that's wild.
Yeah. And just because someone is a public figure does not mean that
It's
they ask
okay.
for yeah, it doesn't make it
Hmm.
okay. You still have to ask them for their photos to be taken. Like it's a different concept if they're showing up to a public event as a public figure or they're showing up to any of their concerts as a public figure and taking photos versus taking photos when they're not on schedule. They're not when they're not on a schedule, they're not a public figure at that moment. They are not working. Like they are not actively doing their job.
And you know what else gets me? This is not like this is these are more like tangents coming from us, but when someone doesn't want a photo and then you go on Twitter and you just like talk about how they're so mean and cruel for not allowing you to take pictures and stuff, that is crazy to me too. Cuz what if they're just not in the right, what if they're just in a bad mood and they just don't want any interaction? And
Yeah.
then like
Or
just
if they're not
take the
working, they don't
no, take the no and walk away.
and
Take the
go.
no and walk
And,
away.
like, if they're not working, that goes back to what I said of, like, if they are not on a schedule and you ask for a photo and they say no, they're not actively working at that point. Like, they are
And they
just
just don't
a
want a photo.
person, and they don't
Hmm.
want a photo, and they are allowed to say no.
And
They
it's not
that
because you're
is
mean.
them no, that is them in their private life at that moment. Like, it's not because
Yeah.
they're mean. They are allowed to say no, and people don't understand that, and
No,
they
they're just
assume
like,
it's
they hate
because
me and they were just so rude when all they say was like, no, thanks.
yeah. Well, do you have anything else to add to the episode?
Mm, if you're doing these things, I think you should just take a pause of the whole K-pop thing and really reevaluate, what you deem is right, and probably talk to someone. And I don't mean that like as a joke. I mean like sincerely. Like,
Talk to somebody, yeah. Like, it's not okay.
really reevaluate some of that stuff. Um, and I said it before. It's just odd that throughout the years nothing has
Has
essentially
changed.
changed. Um, it's odd to me that there are groups on international tours and so on, and they get stopped the way that they do. Like there's
And
no,
that is an instance that falls on the company. Like, I do
That's
know
what I'm
that I said that
saying. Like
there's
that's
only
weird.
so much that the company can do, but at the same time, if you're sending your idol outside of the country on an international schedule, then it really does fall on you as the company to ensure their safety to every extent and every level, not just for them performing in the venue on stage, but for them staying at the hotel, like every aspect you should be thinking
Yeah.
about and taking measures to protect them. But
Like
like abroad or not abroad, domestically, there is only so much that I think a company can do because, like you mentioned earlier, they don't want a bodyguard following them everywhere. If they're at home in their own country and they're only a block away from their house just trying to go to the gym, there are certain instances where it's just them trying to live their private life. Like
mhm.
the company can only do so much in that aspect. But if they do go abroad, then that really does fall back on the company. But I do think at this rate, it is a mix of the companies need to do better, especially if it's happening so
Both.
much, and the Korean government needs to do better. Like, why did the bill in 2018 just stop? Why does nobody care about it anymore? Stalking?
Well, I'm sure it stopped because I don't know. We don't know what else was going on outside of
Yeah,
K-pop
or
world.
I was trying to think what happened in 2018 career wise.
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
I don't know either.
I just
For
know,
some reason,
like, if we're being realistic, if we're trying to like think about it just from our standpoint in our government, I don't think that would be a high priority. It just wouldn't.
yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of other shit going on that's more
No,
important than
that's true. But stalking is a major issue, and I do think at some point
as a world
somebody
that needs to be
at the
fixed.
world we need to touch on it more. We do need to fix it. Like collectively, the entire world does.
It needs to be fixed. I'm tired of the extremes happening and then like the police force just being like,
We didn't know.
we
They
didn't
were
have
such a
any
good
idea.
person.
What do you mean we deleted documentation showing all the reports? We didn't do that.
That person was such a good person. They'd never do such a thing.
Mm-mm. Who would have thought? They would have thought because you don't see those. Y'all are ignoring the issue and it's wild. But okay, that's all I have to say about it. What do you guys
Okay.
think? Do you have
Yeah, let
anything
us
to leave
know.
off on?
Do you
Um,
have any ideas for companies on how they should go about protecting their idols better as well? And
are you doing your part in commenting when the Sasaeng thing happened and you're like, stop doing that? Or did you block it off like I did in the Tumblr days? Because I don't know. It's just, I have no idea how it could be solved with just us as a resource other than stop doing it. They're not going to listen to us.
no, no, they're not. Let us know what you thought of the episode, though. Let us know if you have any ideas. Tell us if what you think about the saucing issue as a whole, I guess. But otherwise, thank you for listening and tuning in to another episode. I don't know what's next, but we'll
I don't
find
know
out.
either.
When we figure it out, we'll
You'll
let you
know.
know. You'll know.
You'll know because it's uploaded.
Otherwise, though, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.